it shut off after a minute it shut off. So I'm just turning this back on as evidence that the only reason I stopped it is because it shut off. I was trying to really capture those clouds because those are, they shouldn't be unusual clouds, but they haven't been the predominant, struggling with that English language. Most of the time the cloud cover is this gray substance that, you know, accumulates into massive areas, and yes, it does produce fallout, rain. Seems to be other things that come down with that rain, which makes sense. I mean, if it's blowing exhaust out of a massive flying machine that's powered by fossil fuels, I mean, people have to understand the very basics of these gasoline motors and what they're doing, you know, highly compressing gasoline into a cylinder and igniting it with a spark, and it just, the force that it igniting all of that fuel forces a piston to move, and it's on a connecting rod that connects other cylinders that contain these pistons, and the sending in of the highly compressed fuel. And that highly compressed fuel, when it ignites, it's a burst of force. I mean, I'm sure there's more to it than what I'm imagining in my mind, but as efficient as we have become, we are still running this planet on mostly the burning of fossil fuels. Going into some cultures, and they're, you know, burning fires to cook and heat. So they're not traveling but walking distance to the local market or to their neighbor's place. You know, there are those cultures that exist, but they're far and few between. I mean, you know, the United States is the one that's responsible for the growth of China into this industrial system that the planet has been experiencing for over 100 years. But I mean, even if you go back, I mean, like this, for me anyway, you know, seeing my grandfather in a picture showing him as a young man, as a fireman, and they were pulling the cart that took the materials to fight a fire by horseback. And I believe they actually had to bring the water with them. I think that's what really was in that truck, was probably a big container of water. I don't know. I probably should have done the research. I think I did one time, but I don't think I was really comprehending what I was attempting to learn. Maybe I just wasn't that interested in it. I don't know why. I was fascinated by my grandfather. He was the father of my father, which that in itself was like, got my attention. You know, even though I keep saying it, I don't know why I keep saying it, because it's so much predominantly on my mind when it comes to thinking about my father. And I think it's because I'm at that age now where he, you know, got to this age and he continued on for another 30 years, I think. 79, 89, no, not 30 years, but I'll have to see, 25 years. And he went through some surgeries You know, in fact, the doctor that did the prostate, handling his prostate cancer and doing the surgery on his prostate, lives on this road, lives on Cuba Road. I don't remember how I found that out, but I was driving down the road and I actually stopped because he was standing out there at his mailbox, and I rolled down my window and I said, "Are you Dr. Walsh?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I don't remember exactly what he's saying. I was just thinking I was having another one of those nutcase revelations that I end up on Cuba Road, which that was in itself, a nutcase thing right there, because I was into the JFK assassination and the whole Cuban Missile Crisis. I did not do well in school at all. God, I was terrible. I don't know how they passed me. I really don't know how they passed me. I think when it came to Howard High School, they knew that I was a father, expecting father. The word got out somehow. This is in the 11th grade. So all through the 11th grade, my son wasn't born until May of 72. And I started that September, it would have been, what would it have been? It would have been September of 71. That I started. If he was born in 72, that means he was conceived in late August, September, I think late August, maybe early September of 1971. 1971, I was 16 years old. I had just gotten my driver's license. Me and the future mom of my son, we had never even been on a date before. We just played in a freaking... We did mostly played at Memorial Park. Or sometimes I would hang over her house. I mean, we were two kids. And I was not that mature for my age, I don't think. I was a rebel. I think I actually had her attention before I got the attention of others with the whole Scott Lampshire fight. He was like the ruler of the halls or something, stupid stuff, how we didn't even know each other, and somehow the whole thing got orchestrated by some people, a fight between me and him. I think it's because his girlfriend, Gina, I think Gina probably told him she thought I was cute or something. I don't know. I was the new kid. Everybody in that school pretty much knew everybody. I was the new kid that was coming in the 9th grade. And yes, I knew some people. Thompsons, I knew them. I knew people that I played football with mostly. Trying to think of the Puentes. I don't think the Puentes went to school there. I think they went to Our Lady. I think they went to a Catholic school. Mr. Puente was very much a Catholic. I think he went to Our Lady. I'm going to have to go research that. You'd think with all this modern technology, we probably do have the capabilities of making much better historical records of the truth, rather than people, coming back 30 years later and trying to write a book based on historical events that involve lots of people. That's why I was obsessed with keeping a record of everything, because I myself knew that I wouldn't be able to remember it all. Sometimes I would forget where the hell I left something, 15 minutes ago. And it was like, I knew that I had mental health issues, but I don't know, I was a weird person. I thought everybody was having mental health issues. I really did. I thought, for the most part, that was one of the biggest things, most important things, was about the condition of your mental health. And you were always working on programming that part of your anatomy that, you get control over what goes in and is what is seated in those memory spaces. I've had a lot of deleting that has needed to take place, but it never took place. The shit just stayed there. No, this is a true story, okay? It's a true story. And then when they did this, whatever they did on my skull, used a saw and saw me open, removed a portion out of there, and I don't know if they sent it away to find out, but, it's hard for me to believe that there wasn't memory stored in some of that. Or maybe it was actually robbing from some of the memory that could have been, but whatever that growth was doing is it was taking up, space. Now what's there? Is it just an empty space? I asked that in my follow-up appointment with Dr. Jackson, and I guess some other members of that staff that did that procedure. I'm sure they should want to have a documentation of my experience, the aftermath of my experience, including everything. Was I using drugs? What was my diet like? What was my diet of information that I was taking in? What was my overall environment? I mean, if I was writing the script, I would have never wrote what I lived through. I wouldn't have written it like that at all. Not even close. First off, I would have requested a much more thorough examination of the options for the surgery that they proposed to do on me, and then the follow-up with the drugs. And actually, the drugs started before the surgery did. I was on the drugs for 2 weeks, I think, before the surgery. It was 2 weeks between the time they diagnosed me to the time I actually had the surgery. It might have been more than 2 weeks, but I'm thinking it was 2 weeks. I'm going to have to do research on that, because this is a part of that memory that's just not there. But I don't remember very much of any of those. Did I say that right? Of those days. Back there, January 16th, I think was the day it happened, and I have zero memory of a couple of weeks in there. And no memory of ever being at GBMC, riding in the ambulance from here to GBMC, and then in an ambulance from GBMC to Johns Hopkins, and the time that I spent at GBMC before they shipped me to Hopkins. They did an MRI on me at GBMC, and they made a determination. I'm saying this again because I want to make sure my stories match. I don't have people to bounce off of with what I'm experiencing. I realized I could go get and pay for a psychiatrist. What that's going to give me? An hour? Even if I got an hour a day, what about the other 23 hours sometimes that I'm still awake? I don't sleep much. I have the last couple of days. Last night, I think, was a good day for me sleeping, which is hard for me to understand because I also didn't have anything to drink. Not that I drink a lot, but drinking affects some people like me with very little. I'm small to begin with, but I'm usually a 3 to 4 shots does me. I don't want any more. I could drink more, but I don't want any more. I passed that threshold of being satisfied by whatever that alcohol does to my, I guess it's my brain. Whatever, I think it's got to be more than my brain. I think it goes more throughout my whole system, because I think, for me, I think it's like, that's why I'd like to do the shots, because I really don't like to drink a lot of fluids like that. I'll drink water, but I'm not into drinking sodas or, like beer. I'm not into beer. I was really never into beer. I could drink like 3 beers. Which means, that would be a 6-pack every 2 days if I was drinking 3 beers every night. And what was I drinking for? I wasn't drinking for the pleasure of drinking. I was drinking for the effects, 100%. There's zero, I guess some of those fruity drinks, I think Kathy was into fruity drinks at one time. I don't think she was, from what I remember, she could drink more than me. No question. She had a much higher tolerance for alcohol than me. And I think for me, it's because my first experience with alcohol came with her best friend when I was in the 9th grade. Me and her best friend walked around the meadows and drank a gallon of Valley High. The whole gallon. Because it tastes like Kool-Aid. It was like, and it wasn't doing anything to us. But by the time we got back around to the house, and if you know, I'll have to do a drive around the meadows because we were moving around the whole thing. And it was snowing. It was snowing out. So we were walking and the roads were covered with snow. I think, I know a couple people were there that actually, one of them still follows me on Facebook. We follow each other. I shouldn't say people follow me because they don't follow me. We follow each other. I might even have been the one that initiated the follow. I'm pretty sure I probably did it in 99% of the cases. I initiated the follow. Because I've been in that mode for a while. I wasn't really into Facebook when it first came out. The only reason I got onto Facebook was for my own immediate family. Most specifically, Ashley. Because my younger kids weren't even old enough to... Well, they could have pressed a button on a computer, but you know what I mean? They would have been kids. We're talking about Facebook would have been... I don't know. I'm going to have to go look that up, but I would think it would be somewhere around 2007, 2008. Wow, I need to look that up. Can I do dual things on this thing while it's still recording? Try press